Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of the Ramayana's most misunderstood figures. I'm talking about a king whose whole story often gets boiled down to just a myth and one really tragic moment. We're talking about Bali.
So, let's just dive right in with the last words of a king who was just shot from hiding, by a god, no less. Bali's final question to Rama, it's not just him asking for an explanation. No, it's a full-blown accusation, and it totally sets the stage for a story that is way more complicated than the one you probably heard.
Okay, so when you think of Bali, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For most of us, it's that famous boon, right? The one that supposedly let him suck up half of his enemy's strength. Well, here's the kicker. The original Valmiki Ramayana, it never even mentions it. Not once. The actual text tells a totally different story about a king whose power was all him. So that begs the question, right? If there was no magic boon, just how strong was this guy? Well, get this. After all the great wars were done, the sage Agastya, and this is a big deal, told Rama himself that in all three worlds there wasn't a single person, absolutely no one, who could match Bali's strength.
And we have the perfect story to show you what that means. It starts when Ravana, the 10-headed, supposedly unstoppable king of Lanka, hears whispers of Bali's power. And of course, being Ravana, his ego just can't handle it. He has to go to Kishkinda and challenge the one guy who might actually be his equal.
So, Ravana rolls up, ready for this epic showdown, and Bali's busy. Yeah, busy. He's doing his daily prayers, his Sandhyavandanam, but for Bali, this wasn't just sitting still. His version involved, well, literally jumping across the 4 great oceans every single day. Just think about that. Now, Ravana isn't exactly the patient type, so he decides to just sneak up and ambush Bali while he's meditating. Bad move, because even in deep prayer, Bali senses him coming, and without even opening his eyes, poof, he just traps the mighty king of Lanka in his armpit. Just like that. And this is the best part. Bali doesn't stop his prayers. He doesn't even seem to notice he's got a new passenger. He just keeps on with his ritual, hopping from ocean to ocean, all while the king of Lanka is just stuck there, completely helpless under his arm. So once he's all done, Bali finally lets this totally humiliated Ravana go. And Ravana is so completely beaten, so utterly outmatched, that he doesn't ask for round 2. Nope, he asks for friendship. He ends up spending a whole month in Kishkinda, not as a conqueror, but as an honored guest. He basically admits, yep, you're the boss. We see this incredible power again when this fearsome Asura, Dindubi, comes looking for a fight. And Bali doesn't just win, he completely overpowers him. He then throws the massive carcass so far that it actually lands in a sage's ashram, miles away. And it's this very act of insane strength that leads to a curse. A curse that, tragically, is going to come back to haunt him in the worst way. So you see, Bali could handle gods, he could handle demons, no problem. But his biggest weakness, his Achilles heel, wasn't some powerful enemy. It was the one person he should have been able to trust completely, his own younger brother, Sugriha.
And this is where it all goes wrong. Here's the timeline. Bali chases an Asura into a deep cave and tells Sugriva, hey, wait here for me. A whole year goes by. Then Sugriva sees blood pouring out of the cave. He hears what sounds like the Asura screaming, but he doesn't hear his brother. So he panics. He thinks Bali is dead. He seals the cave with a giant rock, heads back to Kishkinda, gets himself declared king, and this is a big one, he takes Bali's wife, Tara, as his own.
Of course, Bali wasn't dead. He'd been fighting that Asura the whole time. When he finally wins and claws his way out of that cave, can you imagine what he finds? His brother, the one he trusted to wait for him, has taken his throne, his kingdom, and his wife. The rage must have been unimaginable.
So later, when the now exiled Sugriva bumps into Rama, he spins this incredible story, a total sob story, really. He twists every single detail to make himself look like the poor, innocent victim and paints Bali as this absolute monster. And the tragedy is, Rama only hears Sugriva's side of things. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, how could Rama, an avatar of Vishnu, fall for this? And that's a great question. The texts actually have an explanation for this, a really fascinating concept called nurmsum. Basically, it means that when divine beings live on Earth as humans, they're subject to human feelings and human mistakes. They don't know everything. They can get it wrong.
And that's exactly what was happening with Rama. He was living as a human, feeling human emotions. And remember, his own wife, Sita, had just been kidnapped. So when Sugriva shows up with this story about his wife being stolen, it hits a nerve, a very raw nerve. His human empathy just completely takes over, and he skips the whole hearing both sides part. In his mind, Bali is now an Adharmi, a villain, and he can be taken out by any means necessary.
And that brings us right back to where we started, to Bali's last moments. Here's this incredibly powerful king, not defeated in a fair fight, but shot from the shadows. He's a victim of a horrible misunderstanding, one that was completely fueled by his brother's lies and a god's very flawed, very human decision.
So when you actually look at the original source material, the picture changes completely, doesn't it? You see a king whose strength was all his own. You see a tragic hero whose fatal flaw was trusting his brother. You see a ruler who was judged and executed without a fair trial. And hey, it says a lot that as soon as Sugriva got the throne back, he totally spaced on his promise to help Rama, right? He was too busy partying. This whole thing reframes Bali not as some one-dimensional villain, but as a really complex, tragic hero. His story kind of forces us to look past the simple black and white labels of good guy and bad guy. And it leaves us with this final thought to chew on. Bali could be anyone in the three worlds, but he was taken down by the one person he called brother. So what does that say about what real power and real weakness truly is?